Hello everybody. So today we are going to talk about characterization, and while I am running you through that in this video, I would like you to be taking the notes down in Notability for yourself, just on a blank note. So the very first thing you should do is, once you've heard me describe this here, I would like you to pause it and go ahead and get your screen set up. So one thing you're going to do, this video is probably open in Schoology for you or in YouTube, and you're going to drag up from the bottom and do a split screen with Notability. So you just hold it down, set it over, and then you have a split screen. I'm going to have mine full screen so that I can see it, but I want you to have a split screen, one side Notability and one side this video. And then once you do, I would like you to make this diagram. You don't need the pictures, but I want you to make this square. If you don't know how to make a straight line, you just draw any line and then you hold it, and it will make it a straight line for you. Go ahead and make this square, write Toy Story characterization over it, and have the video and Notability open. Go ahead and pause it and do that now. All right, I'm going to assume you've done that. And we are going to talk about 4 words that can describe a character. Again, characterization is the process by which an author uses to the process an author uses to describe a character, to show you what they're like. We did this with Steele before, saying what a character says, what a character thinks or does, all the different things that we put in Steele, their effect on others, and those kinds of things. Today we're going to say, those are all the ways that you find out about a character. But then once you know a lot about a character, what are some words you can use to describe them? So we're going to talk about 4 characters, and I'm going to put them all in different colors. Here, the first one I'm going to put in purple, and it is Static. You can write Static right next to Andy's mom from Toy Story. And the definition of static is that it's a character. Hopefully you're writing this in your notes as I'm writing it. This is a character that doesn't change. Static. The next word that we're going to describe is dynamic. And I'm going to put that in blue. I'm going to put that just on the next block down. Dynamic. And a dynamic character does change. So these are opposites. Static is a character that does not change, and dynamic is a character that does. All right, the next one is round, and we're going to write it in green. I'll write it below Buzz and Woody. A round character is developed. A developed character is a character that has motivation and story behind it, that we don't just see one side of the character, we get a rounded view of the character. For instance, you probably know your principal in a pretty undeveloped way. You know sort of who they are, maybe you know sort of their couple other personality traits, but you don't know their backstory. You might not know their family or their history or what's going on with them, in their personal life. You know one side of that person. A round character is the opposite of that. A round character, you know multiple sides of who they are. And that means they are well developed in the story. Now, the opposite of that, as I was just describing, an undeveloped character, we call flat. And I'm going to use this sort of peachish, orangish color for that. Flat. And that means a character is undeveloped or one-sided. Undeveloped. Sorry for my slightly sloppy handwriting there. Maybe I can write undeveloped one more time for you. Character is undeveloped. All right. So now that we have all 4 words and their definitions down, I'm going to use them to describe the different characters that we have in these boxes here. So I've put them in those boxes on purpose so that when you kind of cross-reference the words, the terms, that we see an example of who that character might be. Now, a character can be either static or dynamic, You have to pick between those two because they're opposites. But it can be static and one of the other ones. So you have to pick between static and dynamic, and then you pick between round and flat. A character can be static and flat, or static and round. A character can be dynamic and flat, or dynamic and round. And I'll show you what I mean right here. So maybe you can zoom in to Andy's mom there, and we're going to write sort of around her. So she is a static, and this is my little plus sign or sign for and, static and round. Okay? And what that means is that the character doesn't change throughout the story, but she is well developed. But is well developed. So again, she doesn't change. We don't see her go through a lot of different movements in the story. She sort of remains the way that she is. We don't see her motivations change or really her actions change. She's always the same person throughout the whole story. But she is well developed. We get her motivation. She's a mom. She cares about her son. She wants to make sure her house is clean with the toys, and she's taking care of both Andy and the younger daughter at the same time, whose name I can't remember right now. So she's static. She's not changing, but she's also well-rounded. She's a well-developed character. Okay, now what if a character is static, but isn't actually well developed? We don't know more than one side of the character. That would be this character from Toy Story 2, I believe, Zurg. He's just a bad guy. So he stays the same, and he's not well developed. So we're going to write up here that he is static, and he's not round, he is this term down here, flat. He is static and flat. He doesn't change. Again, make sure you're getting these notes down on yours. And he is undeveloped or underdeveloped. A character can be fairly flat, like you don't see many sides, it's pretty limited, or it can be totally flat. You really only see one side of this character. So, this particular character, Zurg, is static and flat. He doesn't change, and he's undeveloped. Moving on to the bottom left. Here we have Buzz and or Woody. They are both great examples of dynamic, round characters. So go ahead and write that in. They are dynamic and round. And that means that they're dynamic, so they change. The characters change. And they're round, meaning they are developed. So we get to see multiple sides and motivations of them. Woody, we see him grappling with his role as a sort of a leader of the room, and then there's an intruder who is Buzz, and that sort of changes him, and he has to go through stages of being sort of against Buzz, and then for Buzz by the end. We see Woody in leadership, in friendship, in a romantic relationship with Bo Peep. We see a lot of sides of Woody, and we see him go through changes of what his job is in the story and what he believes about Buzz or the other characters. So he is a dynamic and round character, and you could say the same for Buzz, that he changes and that he's well developed. Okay, last but not least, we have Sid. Sid is a great example of a dynamic character. He changes, and a flat character, because we really only see him from one angle, which is how he treats toys. We only see him from one perspective. So he is dynamic, which again means that he changes. And he is flat, meaning that he's undeveloped, or we only see one side of him. Okay, so now that you have all those things, I'd encourage you to do a quick color coding with highlighting. So let's highlight all the static. This one is static and doesn't change, highlighting the same color that I made the text over there. And so is Zurg, static and doesn't change. which of course means the same thing. Static doesn't change. That's its definition. And then let's go to dynamic, which is, we can highlight in blue. Buzz and Woody are both dynamic, meaning they change throughout the story. And so is Sid. He's dynamic. He changes throughout the story. He has a change of heart about how he treats toys. Then let's use green to highlight for round, meaning a character is developed. We see multiple sides of that character. Round. Andy's mom is a round character. She's well developed. We know her motivations. So Buzz and Woody are round. They're well developed. We see multiple sides to those characters. Now, flat is our last one. We're going to highlight Zurg is flat and undeveloped, and Sid is flat and undeveloped, meaning we only see one side, one facet of their relationship with the rest of the story. And that's it. Those are our 4 words. If you have a static character in a story, it means they don't change. If you have a dynamic character in a story, it means they do change throughout the story. If you have a round character, it means a character is developed, and means we see multiple sides, multiple pieces to that character. And if you have a flat character, it means that they are undeveloped. So we only see one side to that character, one detail about them, one piece of who they are. Okay, if you got all those notes down, then hopefully you know what those 4 words mean, and you can use that to move forward in your understanding of the boy in the striped pajamas.